Hello and good evening. You're welcome to the second day of this seminar, How Robots Might Change the Future of Work. It's a non-technical online seminar and it's spanning for 5 days. Today is the second day and let me do a short introduction of myself before I move forward. My name is Dee and I specialize in aerospace engineering, artificial intelligence and hardware engineering. Um, like I said earlier, I'm an aerospace engineer. I'm currently an undergraduate student of Kwara State University. I am a machine learning engineer, certified by Stanford Online, deep learning engineer by Deep Learning AI, the mainframe programming by IBM, and hardware engineering. I'm still an hobbyist in that. Currently, I occupy the role of a co-lead at Developer Students Club, Kwara State University. These are my connects if you're interested in connecting with me. So let's look at some things we talked about yesterday. Yesterday we talked about the correlations between robotics and automation. We looked into the differences and the similarities between automation and robotics. We looked into fixed automation, flexible automation, and programmable automation. We dived into the different types of automation like I mentioned now, and we analyzed how robots is changing and will consecutively change the nature of work. But yesterday we looked at that in the automobile manufacturing sector. So today we'll be looking at the applications of robots, how robots are changing the future of work in the healthcare sector. And today we'll be talking about robotic aided surgeries, we'll be talking about smart beds, we'll be talking about smart delivery systems, we'll be talking about AI enhanced diagnosis too. Let's start. Now, healthcare is one of the most critical sectors of our society, like you know, it's extremely important. As a matter of fact, the importance of healthcare cannot be overemphasized. It's where we go to where we are down when we are faced with any serious or minor health challenges. Now, the healthcare sector is among the main sectors in our society that is now, gaining traction with a form of automation or the other. In advanced countries, these forms of automation is now becoming mainstream, not just a sideline stuff. Now, in healthcare sector, also there is a varying degree of automation, from programmable automation, like we discussed yesterday, to flexible automation. And according to a study carried out by Exegotech, 79% of healthcare providers in the United States are already adopting a wide range of automation, from flexible automation to various forms of programmable automation. Now, automation in the healthcare sector can also be grouped into three based on their areas of application. We have general healthcare services, we have medicine and surgery, then we have research and manufacturing. So let's get started this up. Let's talk about general healthcare services first. Now, general healthcare services are segments that caters for patient safe admission, treatment, and discharge. Now, this is my personal classification. It's not industry based. It's not related to any of that. It's just my personal classification of the introduction and the traction of automation in the healthcare industry. Secondly, the processes in hospitals are too complicated and lengthy. I don't know if you've ever tried to maybe take your sibling or anyone to the hospital, and you see you have to fill a lot of forms, you have to go through a lot of processes. I mean, just to get your sister or brother admitted, and the process is just too long and it's just extremely strenuous and stressful. So the aim of automation in this context is to solve these challenges. Now, there are four major challenges that the general healthcare service is facing. The first of them is poor data integrity. Now, the healthcare sector generates a lot of data. The first step in automation, any form of automation, is, like we discussed yesterday, making sure that the things you want to automate is follows a preset logical instruction. We used getting a cup of coffee from the kitchen to the living room as an example yesterday. Second problem that or let me say second challenge that general healthcare services is facing is the lack of link between the advanced machines. There are a lot of machines in many hospitals today. There's the ECG machine. There are different types. Matter of fact, some clinics are adopting various wearable devices just to be able to get an insight. Now there is an absence which shouldn't be. There isn't a correlation between these various advanced machines. Just think if these machines could get to work together, if your ECG could work with your sleeping sensor, could work with your smart bed, could just think of what that collaboration would bring about. Lastly, second to the last rather, we have poor collaboration and misaligned workflows. Now this is a huge issue in the healthcare sector. It's a very huge issue. Lastly, we have privacy and security issues. Now moving forward, we need to understand how automation would help in solving these problems. Firstly, concerning the data collaboration problem, we can integrate data from various sources, then get insights from them with machine learning. Imagine if we know a patient's medical record for the past 6 months. Now, in the past 6 months, the patient must have visited or might have visited 6 or 10 different clinics. But what if all this data, all this clinical medical data are backed up safely somewhere, and we have some sort of system that can integrate this data seamlessly? So when you go to a new hospital, the doctor can simply access your healthcare data from that remote database, and with the aid of machine learning, it will be able to gain insight into how you've been faring for that past 6 months. So it won't just make blind diagnosis such as it happens today. You'll be able to make diagnosis based on your previous medical history, based on a lot of things like that. Now, secondly, data integration and insight automation with machine learning can lead to very valuable predictive analysis. The same data integration I discussed earlier, when integrated with machine learning, can be used for very valuable predictive analysis. For example, a patient that received treatment 2 weeks ago, with machine learning, we might be able to predict, based on the data we are gathering from his wearable devices, from the wearable devices connected to his mobile application, which in turn is connected to a data storage, or data warehouse. We'll be able to predict if the patient has a probability of catching an infection, and if there is such a probability, the healthcare providers will be able to work towards that, or make preparations, or even try to prevent that occurrence. So data integration can really help, and automation can provide that seamless data integration that healthcare providers really need. Now, automation can also help healthcare professionals explore other streams of revenue based on smart analytics and insights. Now, this is actually very important. When healthcare professionals, when they discover what income streams are working, which one is not, they will be able to pioneer and even innovate, and they will be able to identify newer. Now then again, automation greatly simplifies the admission processes to the benefit of the patient and healthcare professionals. I gave an example the other time of you trying to admit your younger sister or brother to the clinic. I'm sure a lot of you go through a lot of stress. Now this process of filing for new patient data, recording the data, getting previous clinical records, assigning them to a consultant, and everything can be entirely automated. Yesterday we discussed the fact that jobs that are extremely repetitive and that in no way requires a level of creativity can be automated. Yes, we discussed that, and this is actually important. This means the work of most of those desk attendants. I'm sure you know them, people that attend to you. Hello, how are you doing? You're welcome, register here, get your card here, do this, do that. That can be extremely and entirely automated. Now, what we're automating these things lead to? Speedy delivery of services. So right about now, let's look at how robots are changing the nature of work. on the medicine and surgery frontline. So, healthcare professionals in advanced countries are increasingly becoming reliant on various segments of AI. All AI and various robotic systems has come into place to assist healthcare professionals in delivering optimally. We mentioned machine learning systems in previous slides. We mentioned data integration methods that will enable faster insight and data analytics observation. Then, though this advancement also holds potential threat to constant repetitive jobs in the sector, like I mentioned before, the jobs at the greatest risk in the healthcare sector are jobs that offers no room for creativity, are jobs that are just simply repetitive and constant and just you really need to do nothing creative or different. Let's look at some major technologies that has come into place in the field of medicine and surgery. Smart beds is one of them. Smart beds are relatively new technology that's helping healthcare professionals better understand their patients' health. This is a typical smart bed. Now, most smart beds are embedded with sensors like heart rate monitors. These heart rate monitors, like the name, the heart rate of the patient, and the most important thing here is that they alert the nurses. Most of these heart rate monitors, this bed itself is connected to a mobile application, to a smartphone device. In most hospitals, the smart bed is connected to general data monitor screen. You understand? So whenever there is a problem, whenever there's a there's an anomaly detected in the patient's health, the nurses will be alerted, and they'll be able to quickly attend to patient's health. But that's not all about smart beds. Smart beds are also integrated. Most smart beds now are integrated with built-in thermostats, which automatically regulates the temperature of the bed. So now you no longer have to be worried. The duties of the nurses are greatly reduced. They no longer have to every now and then check on their patients, because the entire stuff is automated. Now, it doesn't mean they won't actually cater for the patients again. No, it simply means the job is now made easier, because now all they need to do is just monitor their vital signs over the screen, then go over to them and give them enough time, enough breathing space to heal. Give them enough time to unite with their families, to observe special moments, and just leave the monitoring to technology. And it's like working alongside with technology to better care for patients. Now, most smart beds track the sleeping health of patients. The data that are gathered are in turn analyzed by machine learning algorithms. Now, I told you the smart bed is embedded with the sensors like heart rate monitors. Now, what these simply do is they gather enough data about the patient. How is it sleeping? How is it turning? Most of them contain pressure sensors that will let them know if the patient has trouble sleeping. Now, when this data is gathered, when this enormous data is gathered and fed to machine learning algorithms, it will help healthcare professionals to better understand what is going on with your patients. There are health situations that require nurses to stay with their patients throughout the duration of their sleep. Yes, I've researched on health situations like that. The nurses have to stay with the patient to analyze how they're sleeping, to watch their breathing rates, and stuffs like that. And smart beds can simply automate this step. Smart beds will gather enough data that can be fed into machine learning algorithms, like I said before, and these machine learning algorithms will simply give you insight into what's happening with the patient, to tell you if she's sleeping well, if he or she's sleeping well, rather, if he or she is having problems sleeping, and it will even help you better understand the temperature variation over the night. If the patient is running out temperature maybe at 12 to 1, it will allow the healthcare professionals to know, since it's embedded with built-in thermostats. Now, smart beds are also equipped with rails that enables the bed to arrange itself automatically. I will keep reinforcing this fact that jobs that are the greatest risk of automation are jobs that are extremely repetitive. Now, there are some people in healthcare sectors that, all they do is just sweep the floor, make the bed for the patient, clear, just stuff like that. I'm sure you probably understand. Now, smart beds don't need that sort of stuff. They don't need someone to come and adjust anything for them. This sort of smart beds can actually automatically arrange itself when the patient stands up, maybe to ease him or herself. The bed can automatically arrange itself, and this is a cutting edge technology, because if one smart bed can do all this, then the job of those people responsible for most of this, it becomes relegated. So that's one of the things that comes along with automation. Now we have another aspect that is gaining wide traction among on the medicine and surgery frontier, and is robotic assisted surgery. Now, there are varying degrees to which robots are involved in surgeries. The involvement might range from being minimally invasive to remote and to unmanned surgeries. Minimally invasive surgeries are surgeries that are actually done by doctors, but the real stitching and the real handling and the real interaction with the organs involved are not done by the doctors. They are done by the robots, but the robots are in turn controlled by doctors, and there are surgeries that are entirely unmanned, in which case the robots are entirely responsible for the entire duration of the surgery. Now, robots are used in surgical operations that requires insane degrees of precision and accuracy. Surgeries that requires very high level of precision and accuracy. That's where robots are gaining traction on the surgical front end. Such surgeries involve heart surgeries, prostatectomy, and the likes. Now, according to research, due to robots, surgeries are now performed with precision, smaller incision, decreased blood loss, and less pain. That's one of the major advantage of robots. Yes, when the robot performs a similarly complicated and complex operation compared to doctors, it's usually neater, it's usually more precise. There are smaller incisions made, and blood loss is greatly decreased. And surgeons are now required, especially in advanced countries where these sort of advancements are becoming prominent. Surgeons are now required to go for additional training in order to learn how to easily integrate into working environment where these sort of robots are being used. So they're sort of required to go for additional training to learn how to live and work with robots. Not live specifically, but just work with robots, which is extremely important. Now, I want to show you a video of this robotic assisted surgery in view.
Over 80% of the prostate surgery, for example, nowadays in the United States is performed using robotic assistance.
Surgeons operate an ergonomic console instead of using their hands at a patient's bedside. Instead of making a large open cut in the body, surgeons use robotic arms holding tiny instruments that cut, cauterize, and sew during surgery. The trade name for the robotic machine in use now is Da Vinci. It is, of course, named for the artist Leonardo da Vinci, whose fascination with the human body and automation inspired the design of the first robot. But this Da Vinci is not a robot. In other words, it doesn't think and move on its own. It is more like an extension of a trained surgeon's hands. The internal view of the operative field is visible on the 3D HD Vision Cart monitor. The assistant helps place and position the robotic arms that carry out the surgeon's commands during surgery.
table while Da Vinci is docked.
A Da Vinci surgeon views a 3D image of the surgical field while sitting at the ergonomic console. Surgery is performed with the surgeon's fingertips on master controllers, guiding the instruments through the patient's body.
And magnification with the camera is so high and so strong that you often know how strong you're pushing, how strong you're pulling, and even tying the tiniest, smallest stitches. You can do very successfully without tearing them, breaking them, and sometimes your eyes provide a lot more feedback to your brain than even touching with your hands. Comfort of the patient, comfort of the surgeon, decreased blood loss, and often early recovery appear to be consistent with proceeding with robotic or minimally invasive surgery. Haptics is referred as our ability to feel, to touch, and interestingly, there is no feedback. You do not know how hard you touch, how strongly you grab, and it's easy to cause a lot of damage. How do I feel with my eyes? And it's all about experience, I guess. Number of times you have seen and been in places in a body and just seen just enough spaces develop, and also knowing anatomy enough and being in the same space so many times, and just to see the tension and blanching of the tissue and blanching even of the stitch when it becomes a bit paler or certain spaces just show up. It is very hard to explain, but after you do 1,000, you probably start to appreciate it a little bit better.
Another very popular area in which robots now gaining tractions is in the area of medical supplies delivery, and flying robots are usually being used for this sort of purpose. Flying robot has been extensively tested to check for the efficiency in delivering medical samples from a lab to another or remote area to testing areas. There has been very extensive research that has taken place to test for and to check for the usefulness and the viability of transporting medical samples from a place to another using flying robots. Now, a lot of researchers and hospitals even used delivery drones to transport COVID-19 samples from place to place. One of the things that coronavirus did, the positive ones, was to speed up some technologies that initially wouldn't have been sped up if there wasn't a pandemic like that. Most of the delivery, most of the samples that were delivered in the US, especially from remote regions, were done by drones. We also saw a video of Ghana using the Zeppelin drone to also deliver coronavirus samples, especially from remote areas to urban regions. UAVs have proven to reduce transit time by 40%, which means medical samples can be delivered faster to their destination. The typical road network in Nigeria is nothing to talk about. Well, for most parts, it's nothing to talk about. Now, drones have no such issues. Drones do not face issues of traffic, do not face bad road network, and other issues that comes along with conventional road transportation network. So, in conclusion, robots will not entirely replace healthcare professionals. It's not like they will completely, entirely replace surgeons and doctors and the likes. But in the near future, there will be the need for, there to be an integrated training system for human healthcare professionals in order to be able to work optimally in an environment where robots are present, and this will be useful in finding and providing optimal healthcare services to people. So the healthcare sector is one of the sectors in which constant training and retraining will be required as new technology comes in the area of robotics. Thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for joining me. Tomorrow again, we'll be taking on another segment of the society in which robots, will gain wide traction in the near future, and in which robots will completely change the way we work and the way we understand work. See you tomorrow.